Good afternoon. Today I'm announcing the indictment of Levante Davis for the murder of Jason McKinnon. Davis was indicted on 2 counts of murder, 1 count of felonious assault, 1 count of strangulation. If convicted on all charges, he faces the maximum possible sentence of life in prison with eligibility for parole after 15 years. The facts that gave rise to this indictment are, on October 4th of 2023, Jason McKinnon and his wife were walking home from an FC soccer match. A female DoorDash driver looked like she was about to pull out onto the wrong way on a one-way street, and the victim made a comment to her. A verbal argument thereafter ensued. The driver's boyfriend ran up to the victim and attacked him. He punched him in the face and then took him to the ground in a chokehold. The victim, Mr. McKinnon, was able to get away briefly, but he was attacked again. He was then placed in a chokehold and ultimately was taken to the ground. There are witnesses that can be heard pleading with the defendant to stop, stop, stop. He's tapping out. Let him go. You don't need to catch a case. But the defendant continued to strangle until the victim fell unconscious. Then the defendant and then his girlfriend sped off in their vehicle. 4 days later, Jason McKinnon succumbed to his injuries at the hospital. We have the video now that we can play to show you one of the angles of the street scene near 14th and Vine. Are there any questions?
Did the female, was she involved at all? I know initial reports was the female was involved in the assault, maybe approached the other female that he was walking with the wife.
From the video, I'm not seeing any evidence of that. However, I believe there are other angles where it shows that she was assaulted.
So has she been charged?
These are would-be misdemeanor cases, and the city prosecutor's office would be handling that in the city of Cincinnati.
Prosecutor, do you know why it took as long as it did for this information to come out? I mean, this happened in the court, in the police report, October 4th. It was kind of fighting tooth and nail just to get any information of, it was hearsay that somebody, was, fatally strangled that night. And then it took until last week where we finally saw Davis in court. And even this morning I looked up and the case wasn't filed, and just now from the indictment, we're learning what those charges are. If you could speak a little bit about just the timeline of things, why this was this difficult to piece together, or what was the investigation kind of looking like now?
I don't think it was difficult to piece together. However, investigations do take time, and we want to make sure that they're done thoroughly, obviously, and then it's submitted to the prosecutor's office, and then it's presented to the grand jury for the indictment. So investigations take time. And in this, it involves some video evidence that has to be collected. There's a number of people that were interviewed, so it just takes a lot of time. Yes, sir.
Can you explain why Davis was not in custody, had faced charges, in the year, a couple times previously?
His prior record, is that what you're referring to?
He was charged in 2021.
Right.
Earlier in the year, and both cases went to grand jury and nothing happened.
Typically, you're correct. Earlier this year, there was an aggravated robbery charge that was ignored by the grand jury. There was a misdemeanor assault charge that was dismissed for want of prosecution. Typically, in those types of cases, and I'm only speculating, I don't know exactly what happened in the grand jury or over at the courthouse, but a witness doesn't show up and we can't pursue the charges. In 2021, again, felonious assault ignored by the grand jury. Charge of aggravated menacing, that would have been in municipal court, and that was dismissed for want of prosecution. So again, the only thing I could speculate is that a witness didn't show up and the charges were dismissed. They can always be refiled on the ones, any of these charges could be refiled if witnesses do come forward.
Is your office seeing more frequent attacks in places like the heart of OTR, Washington Park, places where the public likes to go?
Well, the sad truth and reality is that there are dangerous people that walk amongst us, right? We always have to be vigilant, and no matter where we are, aware of our circumstances, our surroundings. So we do see it. I can't say there's a more frequency of it. It's just that there is danger at all times, and you have to be alert as a citizen walking through on any street, any community, basically. But in this matter, this case, it was really resulting from a stupid argument between two people, and someone lost their life over it, and it was senseless and tragic.
And prosecutor, on that note, what is it about this case that stands out to you? When we watch this video, and you hear the pleading for, this to stop, what is it about this that really stands out to you?
No one should be killed over trying to correct somebody or have a conversation that turns into an argument. There should never be violence. That's what stands out to me, is that the level of violence is always percolating, and it is just below the surface. And you don't know who you're talking to sometimes or saying things to that could put you in a position where your life is at stake and at risk. So just it's making more people to become more inward. You saw people at the scene that could have maybe physically helped the victim by pulling the person off. There were a number of big men that were there but did not intervene physically. They were telling him, stop, over and over, let go of him, let go of him. That's as far as they were willing to go, because maybe if you intervene to more than that, your life could be at risk, or you end up getting charged yourself. We see things around the country that's very is not good. A lot of bad things are happening.
What about people trying to help in terms of calling 911? I mean, we have a request in for the 911 calls. We put them in over 2 weeks ago. We still don't have them. So can you speak to that?
I don't know much right now myself personally about the 911 calls. Those would be involved, the prosecutors handling and assigned to the case may have that information at this point. They may not. But those requests, I know, take some time. The personnel just isn't there to be able to provide it on the spot as you request it.
A lot of the charges that he has that were dropped have to do with his anger, and that was one of the things that they mentioned in Room 8. Do you think this was kind of a drop ball by the county, even though those charges were dropped, to not and put them in some type of anger management courses or something to try to get them a little bit of help in any type of way?
Well, it's not the court's failure in any way. The charges were filed by law enforcement. They were brought to court for trial, and if a witness fails to appear, there's not much anybody can do. As far as jurisdiction of any court being able to put him into something, there needs to be a conviction. So there's nothing that the county, the system, law enforcement could have done to be able to help this individual, so to prevent this. But I think if you want to talk about preventive, what can be done by our community, where should we be focusing on, is basically trauma, childhood trauma, and adverse child experiences that have affected people, that have made them into the character or the persons that they are. And I also think it's very important for our community to hold people that break the law accountable and that they are punished for their offenses. Too often we're seeing lenient people that are either the law is not enforced or punishment isn't appropriate for the severity of the crime, or we see where judges aren't enforcing the law, prosecutors, whatever it may be, not only here in our community, but throughout the state, throughout the country, that gives the signal to others that it's okay, that you'll get away with it. You can commit acts of violence. There's no deterrent. And the only way to stop this is to have some consequences and put those that are dangerous on the street behind bars for as long as possible to protect the community.
Do you remember the case of Michael Bainey, who was a musician?
I do
who was
remember.
killed on Main Street, and it effectively killed Main Street as a destination for people to come and enjoy themselves. Over the Rhine has been going through a renaissance. Do you see this as something, or any of these other, maybe together, incidents like this having a similar effect on what's going on in Over the Rhine?
I think overall, Over the Rhine is very safe, and the police department, Cincinnati Police Department, is doing a great job as far as keeping the community safe. But again, there's only so much you can do. But as a citizen or as an individual that either lives down there, works there, or is going down there for the entertainment part of it, you have to be aware of your surroundings. You have to be alert. You have to be on guard. You have to make sure that you are protecting yourself. And one thing is to you keep your head down and so to speak, and not get involved in situations that could erupt in violence like this. No, you can't predict it. That's the problem. With violence, it's unpredictable, and you don't know who or what or where it may come from. And so it's just doing the best you can to stay safe.
I don't know if you had a chance to speak to Jason's family yet. Can you speak to who he was?
I have not spoken to his family, but I have, as you can see, a pack of emails from family and friends that have sent emails. He was very well loved, very well liked. He is greatly missed. They are very upset over his murder. They want to make sure, basically, the emails are asking to make sure that for the safety of the community, that he's held accountable, Levante Davis is held accountable, and make sure that he faces the full extent of the law. And that's what my office intends to do. I'd say I at least have 10 here of people around, and some people not only from our community, but out that were friends and family. He must have family out in California that have sent letters. But I've read each and every one of them, and they all express that he was a wonderful man, husband, a father, and that he is greatly missed, and he was a great member of the community. So they spoke very highly of him. And these are people that have known him for many years. All right. Thank you very much. If you need anything more, Amy will assist. I think you'll all get a copy of the video, I'm sure. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.